day circled on my calendar for months. It's
Good.
March 5th.
March 5th. What's special about March 5th?
Well, I'm actually in the process of downloading. I wanted the best version. Typically, I go for like average because it only takes a few minutes to download something on streaming services. When you get
Hmm.
the average, when it's like the quality is not that great. But I wanted the whole 3.8 gigabyte, like super dope, high def 4K version of Coming to America
Oh, yeah,
Part 2.
that's right. It opens today. You're exactly right.
It opened.
It opened already. Oh, it's up already.
I tested it. I wanted to just see before I started downloading. Is it on? So right before the credits came, I turned it off. Turned it off. This is going to be a family event. Me and Leslie, we're going to force the kids to sit there and watch this tonight.
That's
Well,
a nice activity. I got you.
along with millions of other black people and other folk who don't want to maybe admit that they are hooked on Coming to America as well. Good morning, folks. This is the Power Hour. In case you don't know, I suspect that most of you already know that, though. And sitting across from me, uh, you gonna watch it?
Yes, I am.
All right, that's right. Okay, good. He'll be watching it as well.
I want to make sure we do it tonight.
There you
Absolutely.
go. He'll be watching it as well. Bishop Dwayne David Royce.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And this morning we're going to try this again. The devil was messing with us yesterday. It was Satan. Text messages we sent to each other during the show arrived hours late. It was either the devil or like I don't know some of the people we were talking about on the show. But
Okay.
let's see, she's there. I hear her in the background. Kawesa.
Good morning. Yeah, that was
She
crazy last night. I was like, it's 6 p.m. Why am I getting these text messages now?
Like
Awful.
4 a.m. messages like yes. Like what does that mean? Oh, that was a question. The answer to your question like yesterday at 6:30 a.m.
Koisa, how was the ride in so we can get our weather and traffic report?
Pretty easy coming in. No precipitation or condensation. No water anywhere. So that was good. It's windy and cold though. I do not
Yeah.
appreciate all this coldness, but I know that spring is around the corner. But yes, it's very chilly. So make sure you bundle up and put a hat and gloves on and a scarf.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
People look forward to that. I gotta tell you.
They really do.
Okay.
They didn't
Yeah.
comment about it on Facebook. Like yesterday, they were like, we didn't get our weather and traffic report. They were very upset about that.
That's exactly right. And look, speaking of that, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Hit the share button. Sandra says, hi, Kawesa.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, yeah, I'm telling you, folks,
You get a lot of shout outs every day, too. So you should just be aware of that.
always.
Andre Terry shouted you out. Other folks shouting you out all the time.
And she is deserving of all of that. And so listen, folks, bring others into this conversation on today. It's a feel-good Friday. We'll try our best.
That's subject, right? That's very subject.
I mean, given the news that's out there, we'll try our best. But what's up, Gary? Glad to see Tawanda. She's our Lancaster correspondent. And I know.
Just say congratulations to Tawanda, too. Whether you know it or not, she is now a Power staff member. She's our individual giving specialist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she started on Monday. So, yes.
Well, I know she's going to do a great job. You know why?
Right. She's AME. I know. It was coming. It was coming.
Walk right into that, man. She's AME, like Rosa Parks, like so many others. Of course she's going to do a great job. Congratulations, Tawanda. Welcome aboard. And Kanisha and Kathleen, Franny, what's up? Glad to see Sheriff. The Sheriff of Nottingham is in the house. Bilal, Deacon Malika. Raphael is in. He's ready. He's got his keyboard fired up, ready to take you all there. Shannon and Ed, glad to see Viola and Gail. I'll tell you, looking forward again to a great show. What's up, Roberta and Robert? Well. Are you? No, I mean, now let me just say, this is actually real news that Coming to America is back.
Oh,
And
yeah. I mean, this is a long time waiting, man. Long time waiting.
some noticeable absences, though.
Who's missing?
Eric
uh,
LaSalle. Or is that his name?
Yeah. Eric
Yeah,
LaSalle used to play in, what was the medical show? I can't remember the name of it.
I know which one. I think we all know which one you're talking about. Yeah, so Eric LaSalle won't be there, but have no fear because Wesley Snipes is.
Wesley, make sure he pays his taxes on this one.
He was on ER. That's
ER.
what.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was the show. ER. Yes, let's just make sure Wesley pays his taxes. We don't want him to get be put back in jail for not
Why,
paying taxes.
why is it like many women shot right at us? ER. He was on ER. I know it because I was watching it every night. Yeah, okay. Sorry, ladies. Our bad. It was ER. I was gonna say like whatever Chicago Hope or whatever it was, or MASH something, but apparently, apparently he was on ER, and there are a lot of women here who know that. Calinthia, how are you doing? Oh my God, Raphael, my keyboard. I use my iPhone to communicate with you too. Yes, you have a keyboard on your iPhone too. It's a thumb board, but it's a keyboard. So anyway, bro, let's get into the real news here of the day. The stimulus bill is getting close. Ron Johnson made staffers read the entire thing for about 10 hours. They finished at about 2 a.m. this morning while you all were asleep and slumbering. Senate staffers were reading. The tie-breaking vote was cast to keep this moving by Vice President Kamala Harris. And, I got to ask you, what do you think Americans make of this? I mean, the Senate, I don't think we hit this yesterday. I had it written down. I wanted to talk about it. But the United States Senate, on average, the 100 members are all millionaires on average.
Yep, absolutely.
Now that's probably come down a little bit. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about Raphael Warnock. Raphael's a black preacher like us. He's probably close. Pastor.
He's a man.
Yeah, well, he will be, soon. So if he's not already. But my point, though, is that you're talking about Ron Johnson at one point was in the top 10 of wealthiest senators a few years back. I'm not sure if he still has that distinction.
Right.
But so one of the richest persons in the U.S. Senate who is slowing down the effort to get money into the hands and pockets of people right now who need it desperately, who need it the most. And it's a stunt because you can't stop it. It's going to happen. You got to think that there are other places where you can show your displeasure with the opposing party and do things to gum up the works that don't have such a direct impact on people. Tone deaf is not even the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It's so out of touch sometimes the way in which they act because they don't know what it is to actually they don't get the phone calls that you and I get.
Right.
Where it's like literally, it's like the end of the world and you're thinking like, well, what is it? What can we do? And it's like people need, it's like $200. And you're like, oh, okay, don't worry. We got you. You know what I mean? But to the person on the other end of that call, it's like $200 is if you don't get it right now.
It's between life and death sometimes.
And that's absolutely right. And here he is playing games. I mean, how is this going to play? Or do they even care?
Right.
I'm asking.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's part of the problem when we don't elect people that represent the real public. So you got a bunch of folk out here who are millionaires or close to it. Just to let you know, the net worth of Raphael Warnock is $800,000. So he's close. I pulled it up. There's a website called Celebrity Net Worth that actually tells you what people are worth. So, granted, I think he's closer to the ground than a whole lot of those senators are because of the congregation that he pastors every Sunday. Mm-hmm. But we have folk that are totally out of tune and out of touch with the majority of Americans, right? The majority of people in America do not make any large amounts of money. As a matter of fact, even when they cut back on the recent stimulus bill in terms of the dollar amounts that could go to certain households, there was still the majority of Americans were still getting money, which means that their households are not making a lot of money. But the challenge that we have here, especially with the Republican members of the Senate at this particular moment, stands the fact that this isn't even about helping people, because many of the constituents in their own communities would benefit from this. This is purely a political play for them trying to feel like they're not getting bullied by the Democrats instead of doing what's actually in the best interest of American citizens. And you're right, because they don't feel the pain the same way, they're not in a rush to do anything. They're not in a rush to touch these families or to help these families. They're trying to tell them that we're going to save you on the back end from taxes that people don't really care about at the moment because they can't pay their rent, or they can't pay their electricity, or they can't put food on the table, or because they keep cutting back the subsidies that are coming out of unemployment. So I think that the problem that we have here is complete people in their egos, and the other problem that we have here is that they're completely out of touch with what it takes to live as an average American citizen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like Robert Garland says, he gave me some verbiage for it.
Yeah.
Callous disregard.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great start. I'd love something stronger. I'm kind of trying to work some things out for the sermon for Sunday. So
yeah,
help add to that. It is. I mean, at the very minimum, it's callous disregard. Again, you literally cannot stop it. You know this. You know that the bill is going to pass. You know that people are going to get the money, and you're delaying it means that you are delaying, cash payments to the hardest hit American people, the folk who absolutely need the most. And guess what? They're not all Democrats, and they're not all black people. There are a lot of, poor white people who voted for you,
absolutely,
and voted for Trump, who are like, wait, you gonna read it?
Right.
You gonna read it? It's gonna take 10 more hours. So wait, so it's gonna delay it at least by another day. Oh, then y'all go debate it into the weekend and keep So another week. You're saying
they're just being pissy. Can I say that on the air?
Callous disregard and pissy.
There you go.
Pissy, callous regard.
I mean, but that's just ignorant, right? This is absolutely unnecessary.
It is.
And actually, the Democrats, though, this is the funny thing. So Chuck Schumer and the Democrats were like, yeah, go ahead and read the bill. Let's talk about what the Democrats are going to do for Americans. Because that's really what it comes down to, right? Because no Republicans are supporting this. So this is what the Democrats are going to do for America.
Great point. He's like, people need to know what's in here.
That's right. Absolutely. Go ahead and read it. It'll be read in the public hearing. They'll be able to hear about everything that we're doing to help support Americans right now, and nothing that you're going to do.
Yeah.
There is a rumor that Senator Murkowski from Alaska might support it. Even though she voted for it not to go forward, there's rumored that she might actually support it. And that's interesting because she has a whole state of people who actually are not very rich. So she has a legitimate reason to want to support this bill because it will actually benefit her community in a big way.
Yeah, so absolutely. So also, this is all about the COVID relief. And so the J&J vaccine is now in Philadelphia. It's arrived. They're going to start giving that out. And your co-host on your Friday evening show, Solutions, you all can check Bishop out again tonight. If you don't get enough this morning, 5 to 7 here on WURD. Amadi Braxton wrote a piece. I didn't get a chance to read it. I just saw it pop up. So talk about what was her experience. She talks about being in line for her vaccine with the Black Doctors Consortium, right?
Yeah, I mean, Amadi just spoke her truth about the experience. She waited 12 hours to get her vaccine on that 24-hour day. And Amadi really struggled. And I mean, I remember being on the phone with her before the show that we had, because that was on a Friday a couple weeks ago. And we were getting ready to do the show, and I was talking to her, and I said, I don't think you're going to make the show tonight, but why don't you call in for the first 20 minutes, explain what's going on. I'll take the rest of the show. And, we were having a conversation, and she's like, I've been here since 11. At this point, it was 4:30. She's like, I'm not even halfway up through the, the crowd. I should just leave. And I'm like, Amadi, now, a lot of people don't know Amadi's got a very serious lung condition. She talks about it in the piece as well. And I'm like, you need to get this shot. I mean, this could be the difference between your life and death.
Mm-hmm.
She actually did not wind up getting into the building until 11:15 that night. So after being out there 12 hours, and she didn't get her shot until 1 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, very troubling experience. You know, and she, you know, she points blame for lack of communication with the Black Doctors Consortium, that they were out there. Nobody was telling them what was going on. And when they finally got inside, she said she was treated great. But then she was like, you know, blaming the city. She's like, why isn't the city doing something about this? How is it that they're, you know, using a subcontractor to do this, and the subcontractor's doing, you know, at least what the city should be doing and more. So there was a lot of critique in that. And, you know, I deeply understand, and she's hoping that her second shot experience isn't as traumatic as this. She was really traumatized by this experience, I have to tell you. I've talked to her several times. I mean, she was on the air with me last week, and I've talked to her during the week several times about this, but this whole experience was very traumatic for her. And, you know, not only was that, but she was standing in line with some people that were 60 and 70-year-olds who were standing there. Some people just left after 10, 11, 12 hours of waiting in line, and they couldn't take it anymore. They just left. These are people that were desperate enough to go out there and wait for the shot in the first place.
Wow. And they didn't have any chairs in line?
No.
Why not?
They had no chairs. They had nothing. You just had to stand there. And the lines were wrapping around everywhere. And it was just, it was really, really rough. I mean, I think part of the problem with the COVID-19 vaccine is that you have to wait 15 to 30 minutes after the shot to make sure there's no allergic reaction. So that slows everything down. But I think part of it was, like, she was complaining that you couldn't use the bathrooms in the Liquor Center. You had to go find a restaurant or someplace in the area to use their restroom, right? Because you weren't allowed to use their restrooms. They did not bring, I mean, the Liquor Center seats tens of thousands of people. They could have, well, almost 10,000 people. They could have sat everybody socially distanced inside the Liquor Center, give everybody a number, and you get called up when your number was. They didn't do that. They wouldn't allow them to do that, to come inside the building.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I cut you off. So I know that the logistics is that they wanted this in the hardest hit neighborhoods and zip codes. So the Liquor Center absolutely made probably the most sense.
Yeah,
it's the biggest venue.
Philly, you can't beat that.
And you get there on the train, and it's, you know, tons of buses go right there. But I think you're right. Like, if they're going to do it again there, we should put some pressure on Temple. I mean, I actually heard that at a certain point they had to stop actually doing vaccinations because the men's basketball team had practice scheduled. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I think they worked the snafu out, but I mean, we got to find a way to make this happen. And why not use the convention center then? The convention center is big enough for the FEMA program that they have. I mean, it's the hugest convention center in this area, and it can hold like multiple mass conventions at the same time, and it's not being used. So why not use it? Because it's also equally easy to get to. Look, it's 6:21. We got to take a quick break, and we come back. We'll continue this conversation, and we'll talk about some of the things that are happening here locally as well. And I got to tell you, you talking about sitting in that line, it's going to be harder in lines to vote in Georgia as well, because if Republicans have their way, you can't even do the electric slide anymore. We'll be right back on the other side. It's the Power Hour.
Well, the kids are in bed. Time for a little grown-up quiet time.
What do you mean quiet time? It's your birthday. We're about to party.
Haha, funny. It's gonna have to be a you and me party this year. You know we can't have anybody over.
Well, your mom and dad are coming from Florida. Sis will be here from California. Oh, and a couple of old friends from just about everywhere will be showing up. They should all be here about now.
COVID-19 has changed the way we do things, for now. But social distancing doesn't mean you can't be social. COVID-19 doesn't have to keep us apart. Friends and family are finding new ways to be together, especially with how hard it's hitting the Black community. Vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we still have to be down with slowing the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, right here on WURD Radio.
Tune in to More Than That with Gia Peppers live this Sunday, March 7th at 2 p.m. on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode of More Than That is sponsored by KRC Kroger Company, who is committed to becoming the most inclusive company in the world. Everybody in. Tune in Sunday, March 7th, 2021 from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. as WURD rebroadcasts the Pew Forum on Race and Debt with Amadi Braxton. That's Sunday, March 7th, 2021 from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. And we have plenty of them. All right, so we were just sharing the story of Amadi Braxton, my co-host for Solutions on WURD, which will be on today at 5 o'clock. And I am sure Amadi will share more about her experience and her op-ed that she wrote for the Enquirer. You know, I know it was really tough for her to write that piece also because you don't want to criticize the Black Doctors Consortium. But, you know, I think she had to tell her story, her truth, and really be able to speak about the traumatic experience that she had because, you know, in the end, as she said, this is a lot about how Black folk are being treated in Philadelphia. And how, you know, the whole way that this system around both the testing and the vaccines has shown a great deal of inequity towards Black people, but also disregard and dehumanizes Black people as well.
Well, I mean, look, it has nothing to do with the Black doctors, period. I mean, first of all, anybody who would think that this is a criticism of them misses the point. Because if it were not for the Black doctors, there'd be a lot more dead people in Philadelphia this year.
Absolutely.
They jumped out and started testing. They were buying their own kits. I mean, look, I know we donated on their original GoFundMe. And like a lot of you who are listening, who knew Dr. Stanford or knew a lot of the folk through the Divine Nine Network because she's an AKA, and that's so it started trending. Picking up through the Divine Nine back channels and Black churches because her pastor, Marshall Mitchell, was out there pushing it as well. So, but let's remember that they are stepping in, filling a gap,
right,
that has been left because of the ineptitude of elected officials.
Absolutely.
I mean, while the city's out spending money on vendors who don't even have any kind of background at all when it comes to medicine or anything on this level, instead of supporting this, I mean, that's why we're here. Remember that. And so, you know, again, it's like criticizing the person giving out free food because the government left you out there hungry because somehow the line got too long. The line is long because the people who are supposed to be doing it in the first place are not doing their job. Right. And it's not, so again, they are doctors. They're not, you know, responsible for the overall public health. There is a department for that, citywide, statewide, and federally, and they are doing the best that they can. And so I just simply say that we have to begin to continue to put pressure on the places that have our resources, people that we have elected and put in office who are not doing what we need them to do. There's no reason that at all that somebody should sit or stand rather for 12 hours in the freezing cold in Philadelphia.
It was the 20s and the 30s, early 30s. I think it just barely hit 30 degrees that day.
And who's in the line? People who have pre-existing conditions or who are elderly.
Yep, that's it.
So here we go. We're going to make you stand outside till 1 a.m. That's crazy. I mean, somebody in the mayor's office should have picked up the phone and said, hey, I heard you got people out there in line for 12 hours. Open up the Leocore Center. Or we're going to make life very hard for you and put people in those chairs.
We should say, well, but he has no control over Temple. I mean, we know that.
Whoa. This is true and it's not true.
So
this is true and not true. You're right. He has no control over Temple. and yet you are the mayor of Philadelphia. And so, dear Temple, if you want me to make your life hard, let those people keep standing outside.
I mean, but here's part of the problem, right? The city for 3 days had shut down its own vaccination program, and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium were the only ones doing injections at that moment. Had there been other sites open at the same time, there might have been less pressure on this particular site to be able to make it happen. Because there were white folk in line too. Let's not kid ourselves. And Dr. Stanford's very clear that if you lived in one of those zip codes, regardless of your race, we're going to serve you. So deeply appreciated that. The one thing I will say, though, is that Councilmember Helen Gim and Councilmember Kendra Brooks, after they started getting phone calls from their constituents, actually went out, bought water, got some chairs and things, and got those, those outdoor heaters that they use at the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
They went and got some of those outdoor heaters and set them up outside the Chorus Center so that people would, get some comfort while they were still standing in line. And they were out there themselves handing out items to people that were there. So appreciating both Councilmember Gim and Councilmember Brooks for getting out there and doing their thing.
Will Mega. The mayor is weak. Yeah, and water is wet. What's your point?
Yeah. Okay. Raphael's upset because we keep mentioning that people are members of Divine Nine organizations. I just want to note that.
Raphael, if you want to pledge, send a letter. Good God. I'll just come on, man. Pick your choice. You get Alpha, Iota, Kappa, Will's on this morning. We get 3 of them right now. I'm sure there's an Omega and a Sigma listening as well. You just tell us what you want to do. We got you. We got you. Yeah. So listen. So I was actually interviewed yesterday for a story that's in Billy Penn. I was really surprised by it. Actually, I got a phone call because people, folk know that one of the things that I am interested in working on always is police accountability. And so I got a call about, hey, Rev, want to get a comment from you about the arrest of Johnny Doc's nephew. Mm-hmm. I said, really? What happened? He said, oh, you haven't seen the video? I'm like, no. He said, I'm going to send it to you. So I saw the video. It was the Ring video of a neighbor who caught it.
Oh, wow.
This is, so the story is that Johnny Doc was indicted again and arrested along with his nephew. He's the leader of Local 98. And his nephew is accused of threatening a contractor for not paying him for a quote unquote no-show job. Right. So this is a very serious charge if true, because the allegation is that he used, like violence and, grabbed the guy and, slammed him to the ground or whatever. So that's the allegation. So now, if that's the charge, you would expect some sheriff's deputies or somebody, the feds, to show up, maybe at your job, couple of people, maybe 3. Here's the warrant, you're under arrest. These are the charges. If you want to call a lawyer. Is that about the extent of what you think, given this story?
Absolutely.
It's Johnny Doc. Where's he going to go?
Right.
It's his nephew. Where's he? Literally, where are they going to go? So the Ring video catches the nephew's arrest. I thought it was like they were looking for Osama bin Laden's son. No, have you seen it? You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen the video.
Oh my God. 12 officers in complete tactical gear, long guns, assault rifles with flashlights on them, and a battering ram, creep up on the house at like 5:30 in the morning. And they just hit the door like out of the blue. Bam, 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 bam. FBI, warrant. And they say that 3 times really loud, like somehow you're supposed to know what that is at 5:30 in the morning and where you're asleep unless you're doing a morning show from your basement. And so they take the back. So next up is they don't even give a person a chance to open the door. Mm-hmm. They're flooding the windows with light, and they beat the door in. The next video shows them bringing my man out in his underwear, handcuffed, and his wife screaming and hollering. And so they asked me what I thought about the video. I said, well, first of all, obviously it's overkill for the charge. The charge is serious, and it should be taken serious, but that's ridiculous. But beyond that, I said, he's got a broken door to complain about. His family will have to live with that trauma forever. That's not something you ever forget. His small children went through it. I said, but all things considered, he should be happy he's alive to talk about it. Because if you're black, you don't get to talk about it afterwards.
Right.
You're not complaining about having to put your door back up. You're Breonna Taylor's family.
Right.
And so the trauma between they arrested daddy in the middle of the night versus they shot daddy in his sleep like Fred Hampton.
Right.
And I actually said to the reporter, I said, it's funny you call me now. This is the day, yesterday I said, this is the day after the 30-year anniversary of Rodney King being beaten almost to death by LAPD for a traffic stop. And I said, what you saw is what black folk get all the time.
No,
the denial.
He's still alive. He's still alive.
Hey, well, you took the words out of my mouth. I said, minus the fact that he's still alive to complain. I said, a story just came out this week in the Inquirer about police officers in the district where my church sits. So I know the area with South Street,
right,
getting around the stop and frisk, consent decree. And so not stopping pedestrians, but now searching automobiles, and these are largely black folk. Yep. So what do I think? I'm like, yeah, it looks like business as usual for black people. I'm just surprised it happened to a white person.
Right, but that's politically connected too.
That's also, super politically connected.
Absolutely.
Was I wrong? Was I wrong?
No, you weren't wrong at all. I mean, I think you were 100% right on that. I'm like, and I mean, because of the violent nature of what he was charged with, and he probably has registered guns in the house. They would have knowledge of that before, they went in like that. I mean, yeah, it's terribly traumatic. It'll be traumatic for his family. It'll be traumatic for him. But at the same time, he's alive, and he's probably already been released from jail because I'm sure that they put the union put up his money for his bail, so I'm sure he's back home. He gotten his door fixed already. He's probably figuring out how he's going to sue the FBI, even though he really can't. But, he's going to sue the FBI for the damage done to his house, especially if he winds up getting off, in his federal case. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's terrible that it happened. And at the same time, he's alive.
He's alive.
His family's alive.
And
there's no bullet holes in his house. His neighbors don't have bullet holes through their walls. He's alive.
And the carpenters put the door up already.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
There's probably a crew there like 5 minutes after the feds left.
Yep.
So,
it's tough. And, what also gets me is that folk will call you to ask you for a quote about this, because they want to be able to see this happens to white people too. And, the reality is that stuff happens to white people and they still wind up alive. If that, no, go ahead. I mean, no, but I'm saying, but look, this is the bias of media sometimes, right? This is why we have to have black radio, because a white person's going to be like, oh my God, look, they did what they did to black people. Look, it happens to white people too. And I'm like, actually, it doesn't happen the same way to white people. It doesn't happen the same way. No bullets were fired in this particular house, right? They hit the lights, they hit the door, and they got in. Nobody got shot in this particular circumstance. I mean, not even just being killed, but nobody got shot. Probably didn't even wake up the neighborhood when it happened. When you think about what happened to Breonna Taylor, that there were bullets going through the walls into the apartments of the adjoining apartments to her house, and the only reason that they went after the cops wasn't because they killed Breonna Taylor, wasn't because they shot at her boyfriend, was because the bullets went into the houses that were around her. Now, that was a sorry black attorney general for Kentucky that didn't do the right thing in this particular circumstance, and we found that out from the grand jury report. But nevertheless, here are these situations that we have over and over again, and this is freaking media that's coming back because they're trying to justify and say, oh my God, look, this happens to white people too. Well, actually, folks, it happens to black people every single day. Most of the time they're innocent. Most of the time they're being attacked for absolutely no reason other than being black while walking down the street, black while walking their dog, black while trying to go to work, black while trying to go to school, black while trying to get something to eat. Just being black sitting in their houses, they get attacked for absolutely no reason. And this is the nonsense that media wants to come back and say, oh my God, let's go to Mark Tyler, who's the head of the Live Free program that's doing all this work around policing, and say, look, this is what happens to white people too. Isn't this the exact same thing? Well, in reality, it's not the exact same thing. He didn't get beat up. His face wasn't all bruised up. His house wasn't ransacked in the process. He got out, they arrested him, and they walked him out to his car, and then 5 minutes later, after he got down to wherever the FBI were arraigning him, he walked right back out on bail. Black folk don't get out on bail even when they're innocent because they don't have the money to get the bail out. I'm sorry. There we go.
No, well, listen, as Kiera Bradford Gray, our chief public defender, says, and to support that point, she says on Facebook Live, the fact is they kick down doors for black folk every day. Every single day. And so much more. I mean, you know, like you said, I thought it was kind of a joke when I got the call and the question. And I'm like, you really want to know what I got to say about this? I'm like, isn't it obvious? And I'm thinking, to your point, like, oh, no, it's not obvious, is it? I mean, like what? I guess the question is, are you surprised they didn't kill him? No, the question was, are you surprised they brought so many people? I'm like, no. I'm like, have you ever been pulled over while you're a black man in America? Have you ever noticed that as soon as you get pulled over for going like 15 miles over the speed limit, before they even get out the car to you, there are 2 or 3 other cars that show up. Hey, got a black dude, send some backup. It's like, dude, I pastor a church, man. It's a speeding ticket. Just ask for my info, and I'm going to give it to you. Let's keep it moving. So, I mean, yeah, the overreach, that's kind of like status quo. That's SOS, or SOP, standard operating procedures.
Yep.
It's a part of our experience, and you got to believe that's what he was probably saying, or somebody was saying, I'm sure in the Union Hall, like they treated him like a...
Well...
They treated Greg like he was some kind of crack dealing blank. Like he's some kind of bank robbing blank. Yeah, well, you know, trust me. We get it all the time.
For less
law-abiding black folk get it all the time. We're not even accused of anything, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, we got to take a break in a second. You know, Joe Simmons says, white folks' business, move on. No, it's not white folks' business. It's our business too, because what we want is the same kind of respect. And we have to point out these differences, right? But the shaman is upset. The Minotaur is upset because the Minotaur is saying he believed in Trump and that Trump would get him out. And Pelosi guy, Richard from Arkansas, my mama's home state, who sat in Pelosi's seat with his feet kicked up, smoking a cigar, he blurted out in court yesterday, "This ain't fair." Now, what he didn't say, but I could imagine going through his mind, was probably something akin to what they said at the Union Hall yesterday. You treat me like a blank. This ain't fair. All I did was storm the Capitol and take the seat of the Speaker of the House.
She's only the 3rd most powerful person in America. I mean, my God, why can't I take her seat?
Why y'all treat me like a... We got to take a break, folks. We'll be right back on the other side. Coming to America Part 2 started today. You can get it on Amazon. Check it out so we can talk about it on Monday. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour.
Attention WURD audience, do you know that you can get help with your PICO energy bill? PICO is here to help you with financial help through various assistance programs, including the PICO CAP program, which provides a monthly credit for eligible low-income customers based on the customer's total household gross income and energy usage. If you are experiencing financial hardship, you may qualify for the PICO CAP program.
And PICO Cares is the customer assistance and referral evaluation service designed to assist special needs, low-income customers who have a temporary personal or financial hardship that prevents the payment of your PICO energy bill. If you have a special needs child or adult in your care, your household may qualify for the CARES program.
Call 1-800-774-7040 today to see if you qualify due to an existing situation or a change in circumstances within your household. Call 1-800-774-7040 today for more information on the PICO CAP or PICO Cares program. PICO, powering our communities.
This Women's History Month, WURD Radio is proud to celebrate Black women innovators and trailblazers who have helped us all level up.
The trailblazing Black woman, Oprah Winfrey, is an American talk show host, television producer, actress, author, and philanthropist. She is best known for her talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, which was the highest-rated television program of its kind in history and ran in national syndication for 25 years. Credited with creating a more intimate, confessional form of media communication, Winfrey popularized and revolutionized the tabloid talk show genre. Dubbed the queen of all media, she is North America's first Black multi-billionaire, and she has been ranked the greatest Black philanthropist in American history. In 2008, she formed her own network, OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, which is an American multinational basic cable channel jointly owned by Discovery Inc. and her Harpo Studios. She's also an Academy Award-nominated actress as Sophia in The Color Purple.
This Women's History Month vignette was brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania and PICO, powering communities. WURD recognizes Black women innovators and entrepreneurs who are making history every day. Nominate a Black woman-owned business for our Level Up contest. Go to wordradio.com for more information. Sponsored by AARP, PICO, Bank of America, New Voices for Reproductive Justice, Comcast, Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, Keystone First, and the Museum of American Revolution.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. It's Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. Hey, just want to shout out those folks that are checking us out on YouTube. Nikki O'Tim, Dre Terry, Lorraine Collins, Gary Thomas, all y'all that are watching us over there. We appreciate you, and just want to give you all some love this morning to let you know that we know you're out there. And, keep on hanging out with us. I just want to say that Nikki O'Tim said, no way I'm standing in line for 12 hours freezing. I'll wait. And Lorraine Collins said, I waited in line for 7 hours, and I'm dreading getting the second shot. The good thing is they let elders in first. I will leave around 6 a.m. this time. And Gary Thomas says, love our show. Just appreciate you, Gary. Thanks for letting us know that.
So Raphael makes an interesting comment. I had not heard of this charge before, but I'm not surprised. He says they used to have a criminal charge of reckless eyeballing in places like Charleston or places like South Carolina if you looked at a white person in their eyes while you were talking to them.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of the charge reckless eyeballing, but, most black folk just knew back then, don't look at somebody white. Are you crazy?
Yeah, put your head down. Yeah, put your head down and talk.
Like, boys, you trying to get killed? You know what they do down here?
Right.
It explains the Great Migration.
Right.
Why millions of black people, when given the chance, starting around 1917, started fleeing the South by the millions. That's why we're here in Philadelphia having the show today, because many of your parents and grandparents left the South because of things like reckless eyeballing.
Absolutely.
I mean, as bad as the North was when they got here, because it was no cakewalk either, at least you didn't get lynched for reckless eyeballing.
Yeah, I was going to say the North really wasn't that much better. I mean, you weren't getting lynched up here, but I mean, there were other things that they were doing, and certainly the treatment and cruelty that was shown towards black people existed here as it did down in the South.
But it was never the same.
It was just more. The part of the North was industry, right? There was just more industry for people to work in and make more money.
You want to hear a great debate? It's like to hear my mother and my father talk about their experiences growing up. Because my mother spent like half of her childhood in Arkansas, so she is deeply scarred still by the experience.
Wow.
My father was brought to California as a baby, so he don't know any of those stories. And when they get to talking, man, it's hilarious because it's like somebody trying to kind of make an experience worse than it, trying to compare. It's like, well, we had. She's like, you don't want to go there with me. She said, trust me, you don't want to go there with me. She said she's from a place near Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff.
You don't even have the security of Little Rock, which wasn't great either, but at least there was enough black folk where you might get a fair shake. Right. So if you ever hear two black folk from that same era, one in the North or the West, trying to argue with somebody from the South about how bad they had it too, nah. We can talk about it, but they can't.
I mean, I used to get a kick out of listening to my parents sit around with their friends, and they started playing Who Was Poorer, right? And I mean, it was a common experience for black folk coming out of Philadelphia.
Right.
My parents had this group called The Group they hang out with, and they sit there and start comparing about who walked to school with no shoes on or had big holes, they had to use newspaper. I mean, they go on for this. This goes on for hours talking about how poor they were. Now, the reality is that they all did grow up poor for the most part. My dad, not as much, but everybody else really did grow up poor. But oh my God, the stories they came up with and the things that were happening to them, and you just listen to this for hours. You're dying on the floor laughing hysterically. You're almost crying at points because of the stories that they're sharing. But the reality is that some of the tears that you were sharing, I mean, those are really painful experiences for them. Now they can look back. Now they're doing well, in their retirement years because they worked all those years. But those stories, were important to them enough that they continue to remember them 50 years later.
Who was poorest? We had to eat the whole lot of donut.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my God.
A whole lot of nothing.
Well, yeah, exactly. So as we get close to the weekend starting, just the last couple of things. This is Women's History Month, and so Meghan, I don't know what the royal family's obsession with her is. Maybe I don't know if it's just that she's black. Well, I know it's definitely because she's black, but part of it is maybe also that she's American. Maybe the Queen is just in her old age, just kind of like, good Lord, this is Diana Part 2. Diana, like, coming to America too. This is coming from America too. And worse, because she's black, she's from LA. But now they're saying staffers are accusing her of having bullied them. Okay. Which is just, it's kind of hard. I'm like, first of all, you're staffers in the royal family. Like, for the last couple of thousand years, your whole thing has been being bullied and abused by royal people. Oh, you call this soup? Get it out of here. I'm like, it's the entire thing, is it not? How would you even know that you're being bullied if you work for the royal staff? How awful would somebody have to be for you to actually think you're being bullied, and you're the person who has to put somebody's slippers on their feet before their feet touch the ground?
I think, part of this has to do with the fact that I'm sure that Meghan was giving them a hard time. But I'm sure she was responding to the microaggressions that she was getting on a daily basis from staff. I mean, come on. She got hell when she and Harry started dating, when they started, being public together. Those were all kind of major challenges because she was black and she was American. And she was a commoner, right? She has no royal blood. So, that they would have a lot of issues with her, a lot of critique about that. And I think, the royals kind of have grown up in a situation where they sort of ignore the public. I mean, if you watch the movie The Queen, which was about how Queen Elizabeth dealt with the whole situation with Diana, if you ever watched The Crown, which is the miniseries that was talking about them, right? They've learned in many ways to ignore the republic, to ignore the public. Now, when you're Meghan Markle and you're a Hollywood movie star and you're accustomed to being revered by the public and loved by the public, And now you're in a situation where you're marrying a guy, you're marrying your prince, which is what we read about in storybooks to our girls at a very young age. You're marrying your prince and you're being attacked for it, and you're also being attacked because you're black. You know, you deal with these microaggressions every day. I'm sure that built up over a period of time. I don't think she bullied them. I think she was responding to the microaggressions and the attitudes that she was getting from the people that were supposed to be serving her, regardless of the fact that she was black. But they didn't see it that way. And so she gave what she got because she's a black woman, and I'm sure she twisted her head a couple times, you know, did her little roll neck thing, and let them know really what was going on, right? And that was her defense mechanism. So now they're saying, oh my God, she was treating us like a bully. No, you were treating her like she was a Negro, and not using that word, because the word we were using a blank for earlier. And you decided to let her know that you did not appreciate her. And as a result, she felt compelled to respond to you in a way that Americans respond, not the British respond.
Which is to say, you know what, y'all can take all this stuff and do whatever you want with it. I mean, she gave it all up. It made Harry, she said, Harry, you want me, I'm going to be in L.A. And I don't have time for that crap. I mean, to throw it all in their face. You know that's the thing they really can't deal with, right? It's like, we don't need your money. She said, I got money. Come on, Harry, I got money. He's like, what am I going to do? Don't worry, Harry. Put you on my card. I got you. But I mean, look, isn't it ironic though that the second time they've had a black royal, the last one was Charlotte,
right,
who was married to King George.
That's right.
Who lost the American Revolution.
Right.
The next time
blamed her for that. I'm sure they did.
So, next time a black woman shows up in the court, what happens? It's another American Revolution. Think about it.
It's actually more of a civil war, though. It really wasn't an American Revolution.
Well, think about it. I bet she's revolting. She rebelled. Yeah. She said, no, we don't want it. We cast you off. No taxation without representation. She said, I'm taking Harry, and we're going to L.A. And call before you come visit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Hey, on final note, Cuomo is not going to make it. This stuff is just too bad.
He's not going to resign.
Well, he may not resign, but his political career is just over after this. His political
career is over. But I mean, unless he was going to run for president, I mean, you don't really go from being a governor to a senator unless you're in Virginia. But you know, where's he going?
I'm just saying the newest story now. But I mean, to add to, everything else, the original story about covering up the COVID deaths is now back again yesterday. Oh, wow. And now they're saying the top aides close to him, forced them to downplay the number of deaths in nursing homes. And I mean, it's just like one wave after another. So much for, I don't know, America's darling. I guess, those press conferences aren't going to quite be the same. Oh, well. At least we got Coming to America Part 2.
That's right.
You want me to go out by singing that song from the original Queen for the day? She's your queen?
We're good, man. I've heard you.
You sure?
It's good. We're good.
Hold on.
It will sound like that, though. It will sound like All right. Well, listen, folks, we got to get out of here. It's the weekend. Enjoy it. Hey, do me a favor. Check me out tonight from 5 to 7 here on WURD with Molly Braxton. We're going to dig into her story a little bit more about her experience at trying to get her vaccine. We'll be back on Monday morning at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinions. Shout out to Coesa. Thank you for holding it down on the boards. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything you do. For everybody that's been listening on the air, through the app, on Facebook, on YouTube, we appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. Stay tuned for Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. And listen, family, do us a favor. Go out. Change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace. Just in case I